All right, so here we are. We're going to do a little personal reading first to kick off this week. See, are we talking about the strength and victory that's coming in, or are we talking about hells to the no? Okay. All right, so got one. Two. We'll go stop there and take the next one. So let's see what is up. Petal deck at the bottom, we have King of the Swords. That maniacal mind. Somebody's been sitting there guarding your mom for quite a while because they knew you weren't. Are you a kind person? Are you a kind soul, loving soul, a forgiving soul? Yeah. There's a thing called a predator. And they have a specific eyesight for prey, right? And P-R-E-Y. And it's often people that P-R-A-Y, figuring out how to be more tolerant, more kind, more loving, more giving, more whatever, more moving on, more healing, more, as they say, you know, doing the work. That's why I got a little offended when somebody kept just saying, she needs to do the work. It was like, how much effing work do you think I've done? I've done too much. Because there's this thing called over-responsibility. If it's like a seesaw, that's why we talk about Life University. If it was a seesaw and here's the fulcrum and it's going and this is laziness and this is over-responsibility. Are they any different? I don't think so. Not at all. And the thing is they both throw everything out of balance. And that's why it comes back to the self and to Life University. And the neat thing here is time is on your side. The Ace of Swords coming on in, your honor, your reverence. You're being true to that principle of who you are doesn't mean you have to continue to be deceived and play out that paradigm anymore. That's why we're doing away with Life University, with the shizdizzery, with that nasty principle of Saturn rotating and ruling around us, Saturn, Neptune, Pluto, those things that get on way out there where you can't see it and they're just using you like a little master of puppets. Let's get a little tea leaf with this friend, okay? Everything's trying to spill and build, so we're just going to shuffle it around. Find out what we have going on with this Ace of Swords. It's like at the time only having one leg to stand on. So maybe life has been so far out of balance between the practical and the pragmatic versus, you know, the actual or your potential. And so you're having to bring in a new mindset to create this brand new connection to the ground. So like in a plug, there's that grounding plug. It actually connects to the earth, to the ground itself. That little hole in the wall has a grounding facet to it. And it helps protect from the spark and things being able to overheat and catch on fire. So apparently it's a temperature control mechanism so that you don't have to keep controlling yourself. You're not here to see how much you can tolerate. You know, just like at Waffle House, you don't drink 84 cups of coffee. You drink, and when that day your mouth says, I'm done, they're like, can I top you off? Oh, no, I'm good. Thank you. It's always original, always fresh, always new, and it changes depending on the person, place, the environment, the day, the time, the moment, the cycle, the year, the whatever. Give yourself permission to be original at all times, okay? Interesting, because in the preview of what made me choose this deck for this week's reading, the whale was coming in and the sun came in first. The whale came in. It's talking about having to do some deep dive recovery, getting down to your roots and cleansing them off of the attachments, of the exes, of the hexes. And exes aren't just people that rolled around your bed with you. They could be people that rode around in your car with you. They could be people that came from your family line, chit-chatting up at the reunion with you. It could be people just standing in line at the store like plants, like being planted there, right? To just test your mind to see, am I going to go back to that old paradigm, that old story? And then you're like, oh, I did it again. Why did I do that? You know, it's that type of cycle. Well, they're wanting to cleanse those cycles, cleanse those attachments, get those rings loosed off of us. We are not here to monkey around Saturn. We are here to get in the center of ourselves into the light of the world, the light of the universe, which is where all things move around and they have truth to them. They can be measured mathematically. That's why when they put the earth at the center of the universe, it didn't work so well because things didn't measure up. They didn't line up. Now they can calculate everything forward and backward and whatever. There's a symphony and a place for all things. So whale is coming in saying great worry over nothing. So they're talking about things that seem lost. And even I'm talking, y'all, desolate and destitute stuff. Now I know I sound like a crazy person talking about this, but I have been talking to myself going, girl, 20-something years of doing what everybody else has said works and it doesn't work. There's got to be something else. So I've pressed in, I've pressed on. I mean, cancer started the flushing process. It just kept me going. I'm like, yeah, while we're here, let's go ahead and get it all done. So it's talking about being able to truly resurrect and revitalize those things, calling back your energy into yourself and not just, oh, you know, calling it like that. It's literally being aware of the shift in the environment going on around you, trusting your body, friend. It is our giant sensory organ. And when it is upset and unhappy, there is a reason why. Specific. Begin to pay attention to when, where, and why it acts up, how it's acting up. What is it telling you? My husband's saying there ain't no rest for the weary, girl. It's like you better pick up and just keep going. And that's been the lie, right? When really Spirit's coming through and saying, hey, hold up, back up, roll up, ease up, slow down. Take some time for yourself. Implement the time for yourself to grow the channel, not just the recording of all the videos, y'all. There's so much more. Like trying to get the website out and having to strip it down and start again because whatever reason, whatever's happening with my computer and everything else, it's like, you know, get that out of the way. Because we truly are meant, if you're someone who's been living in that kind realm or that whatever else realm of, you know, being taken advantage of or being get the shit show in your face, that type of thing, right? Shoving it down your throat, making you have to deal with everything. And this isn't like, it's all on you, but you get what I'm saying. It was more than you could handle and it kept coming. And right when you think you get your head up and you get a few months out or maybe even a year down the road and then wham, here we go again. And these aren't the everyday things that we're talking about. It's overwhelming things, overwhelming issues, overwhelming circumstances, overwhelming odds. Well, there's a way past the overwhelm. And here Whale's saying, just keep on swimming. Just keep swimming because you don't have to go down and do that deep dive and that work. Man, check out from everything else to take the time, effort, energy to go down there and deal with that. You call it back in the sense that I cleanse my roots of all attachments. All attachments. Because see, your roots don't have things attaching to it. Your roots are here to connect with your environment, not having those things connect with you. Do you see what I'm saying? It starts one direction of the receptivity. And when people have gotten on your sex, which means you're like the fingerprint of your soul, your marker, then they can route your bank account, your energy, your whatever else. They can be living on the exchange program. And we ain't talking about equal exchange opportunity here. No, we're talking about things that are living freely off your energy, and that's why your body is still upset. Your mind may have forgiven, your heart may have forgiven. But over time, if you're becoming more and more fatigued, or you end up with those like autonomic issues or chronic fatigue or unexplainable odd vague pains or sickness that shows up at certain times, that is what we're talking about right here. Okay, so let's get into this other card and see more of the story, what's going on. It's interesting because it's the one that took the trip down, like the Whale was trying to do in the beginning, putting the effort over on you. Let's see what it is. King of Wands. Yikes. Rigging up a gig. Somebody's about to go frogging. And it's strange because this lion is part water mammal. No, it's part rat. I see you. Rat and lion. Something playing both sides of the fence there. Jekyll and Hyde. Let's try to come with some confirmation cards, which we're not going to look at, but we will look at the top, the months of the year. We've got April and September. September. Cool in the gang. Talk about it being harvest time, friend. And the wreath. Sorrow over a loss. And here, remember how we introduced that there wasn't a loss? There isn't a loss when we sow the seeds in the ground. There is an investment, and there's going to be a return on the investment. And every little seed that doesn't sprout up doesn't mean you don't get the harvest. Because just as you sow them thick enough that you can also have to thin them out. So there's going to be loss that way by choice or not by choice, okay? Just by nature itself. But there isn't much loss because look at the abundance going on here. Plenty of blossoms. plenty of shade. You've got this beautiful forest. You've got this ample provision going on here. But there's a little thing in the background that you're wanting it to grow. But I dare say it's not actually little. It's just further along the way. It's part of the perspective. It's saying there's more to come. And it's already mature, ripe, and ready for you. So really what we could choose to do here is close it out by putting grief over the loss mindset, over our ignorance, over our inability to know what we didn't know when we thought we needed to know it. But life has a way of righting itself. And that means, like, you know, well, just like the whale, it knows how to right itself to get itself back up to level. Okay, it's a mechanism that is built in. But this isn't telling me a lot about that King of Wands. So I need to know more about that. So we're going to go on to the final card. Here we have the Six of Wands coming in. Looking at things head on. Meaning, for some of you, let them walk away. That's not the direction you were going. Let this thing come to an end. That's not where you're being called. You're being confronted, and these are like your adrenal glands on your kidneys. They're going, are you going to tell yourself the truth? Are you going to tell yourself the truth? Are you going to tell yourself that this isn't for you? And they're saying what this King of Wands is about is you living beneath yourself. Living off of other people's crumbs when you have the power and ability to obtain for yourself. Assassin beetle, that's right, doing your good job. They're out there keeping those, what are they? Milkweed all clean. Because I just saw my first little monarch caterpillars on there today. And I'm like, oh yeah, because you're royalty, friend. This is you rising up. You don't have to seem daunting or threatening. Your presence alone is plenty. Okay, but we have to get rid of the cowardice, the hiding out, the thinking lower of yourself. Like, you could be living this grand existence above the waist to everybody else, but somewhere deep in those guts or in that fingerprint, right, there were other things on your attachment, like leeching you out and bleeding you dry. Like, well, you can sometimes look around and see the $70,000 and $80,000 cars people are driving in their home, and then they have that, you know, $500,000 house, and then they go on their vacations and name brand clothes, and you're like, how do you even afford all that? How is that even conceivable to the mind? Do you see what I'm saying? It's like, where is all that coming from? But they're saying a lot of it's coming from a line of credit. Somebody's doing really good at shifting and floating to look like they have more than what they're actually experiencing behind the scenes. Okay, let's get you on the up and up here. So let's go ahead and grab one more card. No, okay. Six of Wands, we aren't going to shortchange you, friend. What do you want to tell us directly? And they're like, move right along. Boop, 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 boop. May. April showers bring May flowers. And flowers are the beauty. All right, so there's plenty of provision coming in for you, friend. That's what you need to know. It's like the elderly gentleman that I worked for. One day he got his water bill. Preface, rewind back up. His wife's garden was the thing that everybody knew her for outside of her organizations and clubs that she joined, because they would often ask her to be president because she was very efficient and effective at those roles. So when she passed and we had that harsh winter where certain things died, they're like, oh, I hope it comes back. I hope it comes back. So, you know, they hoped that I would work on the garden to kind of bring it back to life, bring his hope back to life, da, 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 da. Several months pass. He gets a water bill. 2.5 months ago, something like that, blows his lid, okay, and is just sure that that water bill is from me watering the garden. Now, mind you, I didn't just all of a sudden start watering the garden. I've been taking care of the garden since February, and knowing that I had to water it every day because all of her garden was in pots, not in the ground. Pots, when you're having 110, 120 degree heat wave, it kind of dries out a bit. But watering them once a day and things like that. And he had company come stay for 9 days. He didn't think about that fact of 2 extra people taking a shower for 9 days in a row. So the point is I bought him flowers and put it in his house recently when I did his grocery shopping, because I used to cut them from the yard and put them on the counter every week. There were fresh flowers. And he's like, oh, I love those flowers. It's so nice to see flowers. And I was like, it is, isn't it? Doesn't it feel good? And he's like, yeah, we used to have flowers. I said, well, we did. And they were in the garden. He's like, you can grow flowers in this garden? I'm like, yeah, there were flowers growing in the garden. That's where all the flowers came from that went in the house. And he's like, well, how do we get flowers again? I said, well, to get flowers, you're going to have to water them more. Watering just enough to keep something from dying does not produce fruit. Can you see? So we're talking about stingy and stingy efforts, especially because it's in reference to your time and space, giving yourself room to breathe, room to not regrow and regroup, but like assimilate and recall and reimagine and experience in your body without the activity a bit of what it feels like to be you. Let it regrow, let it rebuild, okay, friend? But so anyways, that was the point here. As when there's plenty, there'll be flowers and then there'll be fruit. And I said a plant is set up as such a way in order to create the next generation. So if you're not going to take care of it enough, it'll quickly go to seed, spit all that seed out, and then that'll produce the next generation. I said, now, if you're going to water it and cause it to abound, then it just begins to stretch out and blossom and to do all that. And he was like, oh, well, maybe you shouldn't have listened to me. And I was like, well, you're the boss. And what you say goes. Doesn't matter how it really was. It just matters how you view it, right? So in this case, we're going to back up and take that look that there's no true loss. There's investment. And there are things coming forward from this, but there's still a bit of that weakness and cowardice going on here just from having to convince yourself you're going to make it when it didn't feel like you were. Literally living on the cusp and the edge of extinction all the time. Not being planted in a fertile land, in a thorough land. Or having had those suckers sucking on your roots, like nematodes on tomatoes. You ever seen what nematodes do to tomato roots? Yeah, that's right. Gnarling you on up. And this is room where it says, we got good soil here. We're going to spread you on back out. That is your power. Not having to cower down like a frog or a toad. And y'all, I love them. I'm talking about energetically when they're showing up. There are things that are here to squat your turf in your territory so that your truth and your beauty and power does not come in. Remember how the kissing a frog, hoping to get a prince? That type of energy. Okay, friend. So anyways, this is just a bit of diving and delving in, apparently, to take a better look at yourself and realize that the more you invest in yourself, and not more like weighty, committed, and showing up like you mean it, and meaning it when you show up with yourself. If you're going to sit there and have your hot tea, taste the hot tea. Smell the fragrance of it. If you're going to have your dinner, then while you're tasting it and you're eating it, pay attention to the experiences that you are having, because that is, in a sense, recalibrating your system and getting it up to par, up to power, where it's giving you accurate reads and results. And that's where the harvest comes in. Ooh, friend. All right, I'm clapping for myself because it did this for me, but who knows who this reading is going to be shared with. I love you. Bye.